my father had three brothers. They all four of them were born in Budapest. But at that time, it wasn't like it's over here, that you're born here, you are American citizen. No. They were Lemberg, either Ukraine or, I think, no, that time it was Poland. So they were basically Polish. Now, I presume my father proposed to my mother somewhere in 1931 or 1932, but my mother had one requirement, which saved our lives, that they must become Hungarians. Because they weren't. They were Polish, living in Budapest. So this is why when I always say that I was lucky before I was born. But as I said, I know my father turned, meaning became not Orthodox, because I guess it was in 1942. And, the food wasn't that much around, but somehow I think they bought a pig somewhere, and they had it cut down and all the sausages and all that. And I think we had a sort of big dinner at the home. And why I didn't remember that, because I was talking to my mother, here, and she mentioned that one of her only regrets was that she didn't invite her mother. Right? I mean, and also in as I said, I showed you the picture of my cousin and her mother in England, and my mother visited her in London. I guess that was 38 or 39. And when she came back, she told my mother, get the hell out of here. But my father did not leave his mother. So that's why we ended up where we ended up. Now this was a one-story building here, right? And as a matter of fact, here, I'm going back in 1938, 39, 40. My grandmother had a little grocery store who lived here, right? But anyway, what I wanted to show you is that, as I said, this is the entrance, and this is our building, apartment right here. And the good old Hungarians, some of them, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, but, they were standing here and cursing us. Plus, they were breaking the windows with, what do you call that?
A slingshot?
Slingshots, right. All right. Now, here, where is the McDonald's right now, there was a coffee house. I'm going back in 1944. And I think March 19th, 1944 was a Sunday. And over here, my father and his brothers were having coffee or whatever, playing billiards. Anyway, I came to here, and we started walking home from here, down here. And the Germans came right here. well, I'm quite sure, not all, but part of the German, not, I don't know if it was tanks, but motorcycles, trucks, all the German. And anyway, we got home. When the Jewish edict came in, okay, this whole street is 19 buildings. Okay, this is one, and this is 19. And they designated 2 houses to be Jewish houses. Then all the Jews had, every Goyim had to move out, and the Jews move in. Which was, okay, my mother's mother was living here. And this was designated as a Jewish house, and this was designated as a Jewish house. That's what I'm saying, everything was very close. And we moved into this apartment right here. Well, apartment I'm talking about was a kitchen with a pantry and a room. That's it. No toilet, nothing. Okay, the toilet, okay. This has 6 apartments on the floor. Number 1, 2, and 6 at the bathroom. 3, 4, 5, we were in 5, did not. But in the back over here, had a room with 4 stalls, with 3 of them were toilets, with doors locked, of course, and that's what we used. And as a matter of fact, when the weather gets pretty cold over there too. Anyway, we moved over here. It was my grandmother, my father, my mother, and me. Right. There was 2 beds, which was, one was my grandmother, one was me, and they had a big recame, what do you call them? Anyway, recame, what do you call that? Anyway, a bed, sort of a bed, and with my mother and father, and a table, and all that little things. Anyway, so we moved in somewhere either in late May or early June of 1944. And okay, my father was in and out because I think once or twice or 3 times they took him to labor camp. They let him go. Let me put it this way. I was born and raised in Hungary. I was 22 years old when I left to Vienna. But I'll never be ashamed of it, but I'll never be proud of it either. Okay, because one thing I can remember, okay, yeah, this is the front of the building. Another thing, my own, yeah, that was October 15th. I was 44, I was just past 10 years old. And yes, what happened here is over here. As I said, this was the other Jewish designated house, this one. Now, from here, somehow, I don't know, the Germans or the Hungarian arrow crossover, they were shooting at this building. For what reason, I don't know, of course. Because, okay, this also had a synagogue in it, in the building. But, as you can see it, from here to here, no, here. Okay, this wall over here was all kinds of bullet holes in it. Why they were shooting, they probably said this is how Jewish designated us too. Okay, I don't know the reason, but even last time I was back there, I don't know, it was about 15 years ago. They still had the bullet holes in the wall, right? But anyway, that's now that's what happened is, and both gates were open at that time. The gates were open all the time. I mean, not all the time, but 7 in the morning till 11 at night. But anyway, this gates was open, and also this gates was open, and this was where I lived before. But people were standing and looking at what's happening, right? Now, at that point, my mother said she had enough. Oh, I don't know what she said, but I know that she took my hand and said, "Let's get the hell out of here." Now, I was not too good at it, and sometimes I dropped it. My mother made me take violin lessons. When I was 5, 6, 7 years old. I had a small violin. But anyway, she said, let's go to the violin teacher. I don't know. But anyway, we were walking toward, well, I'm not going to show you where, but now this is the school. What the hell is going in there? But anyway. Okay, there is a little park over here. And we were going across because we wanted to get to this street over here. Now, I presume, okay, that I can't say, but I presume that, okay, everybody knew everybody. They know we were Jews and all that. They knew, across the street there was a Aryan building at that point, even because all the Jews moved out. Anyway, probably, again, I'm just speculating, that somebody saw us going away. And they knew my mother very well. They knew she wasn't the meek type. And they probably said that she had false papers, which she did have, by the way. And they sent after us 2 Hungarian soldiers, not the Arrow Cross, thank God. All right? But anyway, somewhere in here, on this ground, they stopped us. Okay, I was walking with my mother, and my grandmother, her mother, was walking about 10, 15 paces behind us. So when they stopped us, she just kept walking. She was very nice. By the way, I have her picture also on the wall over there. I can show you that. And I don't know what my mother said to the soldiers stopped us. I don't remember what they said. I'm tearing a little bit, but I'm not crying. Okay. And I don't know what she said to the soldiers, but the soldiers saluted and left. I guess they probably told them, well, they were probably told that two Jews going there with a false paper and all that. And when I presume, again, presumption on my side, she said, we are Jews. So they didn't know what to do with it. Okay, because we didn't. So they just saluted and left. As I said, they were Hungarian soldiers, not one of the Gestapo, Hungarian Gestapo, or all that. So anyway, now that was October 15th. That I remember. And at that time we went, I don't know where. I don't remember where we went. Anyway, for a couple of days, we were sleeping at a store somewhere or even out of the area. And after that, went into hiding. That was somewhere end of October, beginning of November. It's not far. It's about from our house where we lived. To walk there was about half an hour walk. It wasn't that. Now, we were in a room. Okay, that was. I think it was the super of the building. It was a lady only. I don't know if she was married or not, whatever. But they had no men there. She had no man. And they had a room about half of this room. It was a maid's room. How I know it was a maid's room because of course, there was no heating of regular, like now, building-wise heating. It was stoves. Anyway, the room had on the top by the ceiling, I had a hole to the chimney, and also at the same place from the kitchen. Now, the kitchen, they put us in that room and they had a big credenza and they put it in front of the door, so they didn't know there was a door there. And we were there, I presume, for probably beginning of November till January 4th. I remember that date was January 14th was when the glorious Russian army liberated us. That street, they were fighting street by street. Anyway, so I don't know, as I said, 2 days later, after the Russians came in, 2 days later, they took my father. Now, at that point, I don't know, that day or next day or day after, I don't remember, we went back to the old apartment. Now, my only experience with destruction, all that, was one of the main streets. Okay, it was, January, it was winter, it was a pretty strong winter, there was a lot of snow. Anyway, we were walking by a main road, and in the main road there was a snowbank. And on the snowbank was laying a dead woman. It was pretty far, it was as far away as from here to the main gate. But it was wearing a skirt. Now, it could have been a priest, right? No, I presume that was, but that was the only thing I saw, because I was protected that much. All right? Right now, all right, and that time, as I can recall my feelings, was an adventure. 10 years old. Was sort of an adventure. Right now when I think about it, that what could have happened scares the shit out of me. But only for about 10-15 seconds. I don't live in the past. Right? But sometimes, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, whatever. But, it's just really fleetingly. Anyway, we got back there, and that was very likely end of January of 1945. First in elementary school, he was 6 years old. And of course, it's basically a Christian area. So every morning when the classes started, I don't know, they'd done some blah, 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 But anyway, they made the sign of the cross. And I made it because I saw everybody. I did it too. And finally somebody told me to don't do it. All right, so. And after the war, I guess somewhere in 1947, she also went to visit her sister in London. But in the meantime, the good old Hungarian government closed the windows on the borders. So she couldn't come home. And she couldn't come home till late 1951. And then she went to Paris. She was in Paris for about a couple of years. But anyway, as I said, who was that? All right, her husband and my aunts, her sister's husband and her, they came to Budapest probably before 1948 because they could have come there. And I remember, I was at that time, in 47, I was 13 years old. And, we had a dinner at the apartment. My father, my mother, her sister and her husband, and my grandmother and I. And I remember it was very revolting to me that George, her husband, okay, of course the Hungarian dinner basically starts with a chicken soup. And my grandmother my grandmother was a very good cook and baker. My mother was not bad, but it wasn't fancy. But whatever she made was very good. And he took the whole onion. To me, at that time, it was very revolting. We weren't used to it. Anyway, that's what I remember out of the dinner. Anyway, she came home and we lived in that apartment till I was drafted somewhere in November of 1954 into the Hungarian army. I was serving, and the Hungarian Revolution started on October 23rd of 1956, and I got home in October 16th. As a matter of fact, I was in the one of the hotel's bath, swimming pool and all that, when the revolution started, October 23rd. And I didn't even know about it then. That time, we, as I said, we moved already somewhere else. And it was on living on the 5th floor again. But anyway, next morning, I looked out the window. It was the 24th. And there was tanks on the street. I mean, I'm talking about 1 or 2 streets from the Danube. I mean, it was basically on the Buda side, but it's right next, the hub, basically the hub. And what the hell is going on? But then we find out. And again, we were living there till, my father got very sick when I was in the army, because in 55, his lung was operated on, and he was very sick. And he was still mobile for a while, but anyway, he went to hospital, and he stayed in the hospital, and the hospital was, I guess, as a matter of fact, was 1 or 2 buildings from where we lived. So anyway, that I remember. At that time, I was in 1956. I was 22 years old, so I remember, reasonably remember. We were standing at his bedside, my mother and I, in the hospital, and he said that. I heard it. Get him out of the country. Meaning my mother, get me out of the country. And me luck. Now, have you ever heard of Endau? Probably not. Okay. Now, we left Budapest. We had, these bowling ball bags?
Yeah.
We had 2 of them. That was the thing that we had. That's it. Mm-hmm. That things in there. But, not much. Anyway, we left Budapest on the November 24th, which was a Saturday. And we got to a town in Budapest, in Hungary, not far from the border. And we stayed there a night. I think they went to a hotel over there. They had a hotel, went there. We slept there at night. On the 25th, we rented a bus, a regular bus, 4 of us. And it took us to the border. Now there, I'm quite sure my mother paid with gold or something. But anyway, we got to a peasant's house. And I had a room maybe the size of this or more, I don't know. But anyway, it was benches around and people were sitting around. And we were there good during the day. We got there, and he said, he told us to sit down and he'll take us out. And again, when it became dark, he said, let's go. And we went to a hedge, which had an opening. And he went into, and he told us, at that time it was dark already. And he said, can you see the light over there? And we said, yes. That's Endau, go. And that was it. So we got to Endau at the 25th. I guess they fed us or all that. And I think we slept on hay because there was a lot of people. Well, I mean, I would say probably better than 100 people there. Anyway, next day, they put us on a train to Italy. Okay. So we got on the train. And we started going, and the train stopped in Vienna. Now, let me put it this way. Let me give you a little bit of the family history on my mother's side. Her father was married to an Austrian lady back in 1890 or something. Anyway, they had 4 kids. And she died in 1906. How I know it because she's buried in Hungary and I saw the grave. So that's how I know. And then he married my grandmother. In, I presume, somewhere in 1906, pretty fast, because my aunt who was in London later on, was born in 1907. So, but anyway, they were very much involved with Austria in a family. So my mother used to go, I'm going back in the 1920s, back in Vienna and back and forth. So there's a lot of family, and they were family, even though, But anyway, when we got to Vienna, my mother said, "Hey, I have 2 cousins from the other family. Let's go." We got off the train. And that was a Monday. Yeah, because Sunday they put us on the train, and Monday we arrived in Vienna, and we got off the train. We went to see Wilma and Steffi. They were the 2. I mean, they were older ladies, But, anyway, they had a very nice lingerie store. So anyway, we got there. They were very happy to see us. I'm positive because they put my mother up, and as a matter of fact, the first night in Vienna, I slept in a jail because there was nowhere to play. I slept in a cell in a jail. Well, not in a jail, in a police station. I was still very green, because I lived in Budapest and I didn't know what's what. Anyway, they were deciding where I will go. All right, first, Elizabeth said, "Okay, I'll take Tibi." By the way, that's my nickname, Tibi. Take Tibi to Montreal. Okay, I'll go to Montreal. Next day or day after, whatever, she changed her mind. Okay, no, take her to London. I have an apartment there, blah, blah, blah. And when she learned, my English at that time was yes, no, I am, you are. That was it. And, he learns English, and then I'll take him to Montreal. All right. Then she changed her mind again. She said, "Tibi, stay here a month." I was there when the discussion was, so I basically, not word for word, but that's what happened. "Tibi, stay here in Vienna, learn German and English, and in 6 months, I'll take you to Montreal." Okay. So that was a decision. Now, on December 6th, 56, she left. Okay, she gave a lot of underwear now to my mother because they were the same size. I got 20 francs and a package of chiclets. That was it. That's okay. But anyway, oh no, and she also said that she's going to support me. I mean, thank God her husband was making $40,000-$50,000 at that time. I mean, which was big money. She was a representative of a car company in Montreal. But anyway, on December 6th, she went back and they said, Tibi, I'll go home. Again, I'm quoting her almost word for word. Tibi, I'm going home to Montreal. Right away, I'm not even going to go to sleep. I'm going to get you a package and send it to you, clothing and all that. Fine. And she left on December 6th. Now, we were staying there. My mother had a job, and plus the highest, which is the Jewish agency, probably you know about it. Mm-hmm. He was somewhat supporting me, or supporting us, but also my mother had a job, which paid not good, but paid reason. And anyway, and plus, she stayed with one of her cousins over there, and I was sleeping somewhere in a cousin or whatever, somewhere else. Anyway, and finally, my mother wrote her sister a letter to, for him, meaning me, to stay here in Vienna, she needed at least $100 a month. Well, anyway, she wrote back a letter. What were you talking about? Ghosts sweep the streets around the Anyway, okay, all right, fine. But at that point, we decided the United States. And what I'm saying in November is because the Americans, at that time, they said anybody that comes out in November of 56 will take him, regardless of number. There's no quota. Mm-hmm. So I got this country on a golden platter because I registered and all that. A week later, they flew us I landed in McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey.
Yes.
And were taken to Camp Kilmer, which is also in New Jersey. At that time, that was the distribution center for the Hungarian refugees. So I stayed there, I don't know, about 2 or 3 weeks. And, all kinds of interviews, all that. I got interviewed with the World University Service. I'll tell you this because later on it made a difference. And they finally... Okay. My father died in May of 57, May 10th. So my mother couldn't come with me because they didn't take anybody that had husband or children or parents there in Hungary. And my father, my mother arranged for an ambulance for my father from Vienna, but he was too sick, he couldn't make it. But anyway, he passed away in May 10th in 57. But anyway, I arrived in Camp Kilmer on, I think it was February 27 or 28. And I was there for 3 weeks. And the big deal, I bought a pack of carton of Pall Mall. Wow. I mean, it was like, I was smoking at that time, of course I was smoking. And anyway, I had an appointment, I had an interview with the World University Service, and they gave me 2 choices, Washington, D.C. or Boston. That's where I can go from Camp Kilmer. Now, a good old boy from Europe, I mean, it's of course the capital.
Right.
So I went to, the highest paid for my flight. Anyway, they were supporting me. And I went to Washington, D.C. Anyway, they put us in there. We were 7 of us. We were the first 7 Hungarian refugees to Washington, D.C. And because I'm laughing because, it was a big deal at that time. And I think the editor or something of the Washington Post invited us to a lunch to his house.
Wow.
Which was in the countryside somewhere. And now the Hungarian cuisine is very good, but there is no steak, as you know, in the United States. They have beef, but not a steak in the United States. Okay? So we got to their house, which was a lovely house, lovely weather. It was in March or April, and it was already nice. And we were sitting, and I remember they put us, we were sitting at a small table for everybody. And they flopped down a beautiful piece of steak, almost rare. Now, at that point, I said, what the hell am I going to do with that? I had no idea.
Right.
So, they were absolutely nice about it. And what they did is they really baked it or cooked it or whatever. So, it was very nice. But, that was my first experience with the steak. I'm still not crazy about it. I like steak, but not, that's not my favorite.
Right.
I'm not the rah steak. Because my father died in May 10th of 57. And after that, my mother came. They let her in. And she came in June. And, at that time, the Hungarian distribution center was a Hotel St. George in Brooklyn. Now, anyway, she came, I guess, June 13th or somewhere in there. And I was in Washington, D.C., and of course I came up to New York. Now, the people over there, they were all Americans, of course, they said, the easiest way to do, I had some money. I was working, by the way, in Hungary I worked in a machine shop, so I had some experience with lathe and all that. And I was working and I was making some money. Once I got the job, I had to pay for my room and board, which was a big, I made $1.25 an hour. My room and board was $16 for the week, which included breakfast and dinner. All right, so it was a big deal. Anyway, what was I thinking? But anyway, I came up and they said the easiest way to go to Hotel St. George. They were all Washingtonians, they didn't know New York has a little bit of a problem with traffic. Right? Anyway, they said, just hop into a cab. You had enough money. All right. And as I said, when I came to this States in February, yes, no, I am, you are, my English. So I learned some English, of course. And, I arrived at the Port Authority. I took a bus. I arrived at the Port Authority in 42nd Street and 8th Avenue. Now, that is something to be experienced. No. Don't misunderstand. It was one of my greatest experiences of my life.
Oh.
Because I arrived around 5:30, 6 o'clock, and New York hits you. I mean, it's a feeling that you never experience. And that's what I'm saying.